Since the start of the war in Ukraine, India has been buying cheap Russian oil. While Western countries have been cutting back on purchases, India has continued to import in order to curb price growth and inflation. This infuriates Trump, who believes India is not behaving like a US ally and deserves punishment. But America cannot afford to lose India, especially in the medical field. India is often called the pharmacy of the world, producing more than 20% of the generic drugs that the US healthcare system relies on. These include cancer treatments, antibiotics, and blood pressure medications, supplied to hospitals, pharmacies, and nursing homes across the country. Without them, the American medical system could collapse. If Trump does impose a 50% tariff, drug prices will skyrocket. Hospitals already operating at their limits will face shortages. Pharmacies will run out of basic medicines. People will start cutting back on insulin, forgoing chemotherapy, and postponing surgeries, not because they don't want treatment, but because they simply can't afford it. The US does not have the capacity to quickly replace Indian supplies. Building pharmaceutical plants would take years and billions of dollars. In India, the system is already in place, cheap and efficient. If India reduces exports because of tariffs, resentment, or loss of trust, millions of Americans could be left without life-saving medications. This is no longer just an economic issue, it's a matter of national security. The United States already spends more on healthcare than any other country. If the Indian supply chain collapses, the nation could face a true medical disaster. Such a move is not just a mistake. Meddling with drug supplies is like playing with matches at a gas station. Once it ignites, it will be too late. Some Indian goods are already subject to 25% tariffs, but according to White House leaks, they could triple, especially for diamonds. The United States is the largest buyer of such stones, importing $24 billion worth each year. But here, Trump seems to be missing the point. India has options. China and Hong Kong would be happy to take over its diamond trade. If India turns eastward, it will not only preserve its economy, but also strengthen BRICS. And every stone that doesn't reach the US is another point scored for China. This is not just a fight for market share, it's a struggle for economic influence. And the United States is losing it. India is important not only as a pharmaceutical producer, it plays a key role in the field of IT services and exports textiles, electronics, and equipment. A 50% tariff would make all of this more expensive. Both American companies and ordinary consumers would suffer. Businesses would have to pay more, and in the context of inflation and supply disruptions, this would only intensify pressure on the economy. Most importantly, India is not an enemy. On the contrary, it has always been considered a partner of America, especially in containing China. But such an approach by Trump could push India away and drive it into the arms of China and Russia. This is exactly what BRICS countries are striving for, and instead of weakening them, Trump might actually make them stronger. Not long ago, India stated that it supported the dollar and had no plans to abandon it. But after all this, it may well return to the BRICS de-dollarization plan, and Trump does not intend to stop there. He has already made it clear that Brazil could be next. He had previously accused it of currency manipulation and imposed restrictions on steel supplies. Now, he could turn to its active trade with China and its participation in BRICS financial projects. Brazil is one of the main suppliers of food to the United States. Soybeans, coffee, beef, chicken, all of this comes from there. New tariffs would sharply raise prices in American stores, and farmers in both countries would lose important markets. This would hit agriculture and the wallets of ordinary people. Meanwhile, China and Russia remain at the center of attention. Trump has already spoken about a possible 60% tariff on all Chinese imports. This would affect hundreds of billions of dollars worth of goods, from electronics and clothing to household items. Prices for everyday goods would rise sharply. American companies like Apple and Tesla, which work with Chinese factories, would also be hit hard. And China would almost certainly respond in kind. This would trigger a new wave of tariff conflicts and problems for American companies abroad. Trump presents all this as protecting jobs and restoring fairness. But in reality, tariffs only increase costs for businesses and raise prices for people. Supply chains tighten, and the impact falls precisely on those he claims to protect. And while American families pay more and more, something far more significant is happening in the world. The planet's energy system is changing rapidly.